Goodness. I had no idea what they were going to say. Give me a minute. What I will say is that in talking about my vices, you obviously missed the parental lecture of don't do that in public. We'll have more conversation about that later. But nonetheless, these two guys are the most wonderful, I still think of them as kids in the world. And if indeed we framed the introduction around gaming, I will say that the privilege I had of being with these two was the biggest jackpot that could have ever been won. So thank you, and I want you to know that I've always said to them too, the saying that my friend Joe Morris's mother used to say is that I love you a bushel and a peck and a hug around the thyroid. So I have no idea what that means, but I think it means a lot. So thank you. So it is with great humility that I stand before you tonight. Never in a million years did I think I would be up here, because frankly there are so many more who have done so much more. Nonetheless, the universe brings us unexpected blessings, and this is definitely one of those for me. It is my understanding that I'm up here tonight because of two things. One, my professional work with philanthropy and nonprofits in Mississippi. And two, my volunteer work around LGBTQ issues. I have to say that I am far from a pioneer in either of these. I'm just lucky to have been in the right place at the right time with the right people. My philanthropic and nonprofit work has only been possible because of groundwork that was laid in the state by folks like Tom Waycaster, Ted Alexander, Marcy Skelton, George Penick, Ivy Allen, Rebecca Combs Delaney, and countless others. And the creation of the LGBTQ Fund of Mississippi would not be happening were it not for true pioneers like Eddie Sandifer, Wanda and Brenda Henson, Malaysia Walker, Fiona Darcy, Jamie Harker, and others who have historically been brave advocates for LGBTQ rights in this state. But here we are, with me up here, looking out at you, recognizing that I should pay tribute to and thank all of you that have played a role in helping me through the years. Friends, work colleagues, acquaintances, and of course my life partner of 32 years, Jeffrey Kerr. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. Jeffrey, you're one of the smartest, creative, and most wonderful people I've known, and I love you dearly. Thanks for putting up with me for all these years. It's exciting to share with you that Mississippi is first in the nation to strategically focus on transforming the working relationship between organizations that give money and those that seek money. We have been courageous enough, and some would say crazy enough, to document the fact that historically the relationship between funders and nonprofits has been driven by the dynamics of power and privilege on the part of philanthropy primarily, that lead to little interaction and communication unless it's about how to fill out a funding proposal or how to complete some complex evaluation matrix that has seemingly been designed by some alien life form. Those of you that work in the nonprofit world know what I mean. Documenting this to be true, however, leads us to ask the question, wouldn't it make more sense for them to work together instead of in their own silos? The answer to the question is obviously yes, and it led us to develop a new structure and a new process to bring philanthropy and nonprofits together so they can co-create new ways of communicating and designing, implementing, and evaluating programs. It's being done through a new entity in the state called the Mississippi Alliance of Nonprofits and Philanthropy. To create the alliance, we merged two organizations, the Mississippi Association of Grant Makers and the Mississippi Center for Nonprofits. They're no longer here, gone for good. May they rest in peace. And there, in their place is the Alliance, and we believe its work will greatly increase the chances to achieve more positive outcomes for Mississippi's children, families, and communities. And after all, that's what it's all about. The creation of the Alliance has been incredibly exciting, but my volunteer work in helping create the LGBTQ Fund of Mississippi has been beyond exciting. I believe it to be potentially the most meaningful work I've ever gotten to do. I should note that I grew up in Mississippi, rural Mississippi, went to college at Ole Miss, and then worked in Jackson until 1988 when I left the state for almost 30 years. I came back 9 years ago with the assumption that there would be more progressive leadership and policies around social and racial justice issues that I consider important, including LGBTQ issues. Unfortunately, it did not take long for me to find that not much had changed, particularly with regard to LGBTQ issues. In fact, upon my return to the state, our elected officials were in the midst of consciously creating structural barriers to institutionalize discrimination by passing House Bill 1523. One side of me felt like fleeing, leaving the state again and going somewhere else more progressive and embracing. But the other side of me, the side that says when you're faced with a challenge, you need to do something about it, kept me here. I began thinking about what might be done to make a difference for LGBTQ kids and families. I quickly discovered there are few services and supports available in Mississippi for LGBTQ citizens. And most of the services that are available struggle and are extremely underfunded and without management and staffing capacity to do what really needs to be done. So coming from a background in philanthropy, I decided to explore the idea of starting an LGBTQ fund, a fund that would raise resources and provide grants to organizations that are struggling to make a difference for LGBTQ citizens in this state. I knew there was no way I could do it by myself, so I started reaching out to others to see what they thought about the idea. One of the first folks I talked to when trying to figure this out was Carol Penning, who at that time was head of the Women's Foundation of Mississippi. Carol's immediate response was, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Thank you, Carol, for that response and for being by my side every step of the way. So now the fund has been created, thanks to Jane Alexander and the team at the Community Foundation for Mississippi. It is set up as a field of interest fund, and the first goal of the fund was to raise $100,000 for grants to LGBTQ serving organizations. It's with incredible great pleasure that I let you know that you're the first group to hear that as of Tuesday of this week, the fund reached that $100,000 goal. Yeah. This allows us to begin the first round of grant making, and it also lets us begin to focus on building at least a $1 million endowment to perpetually provide resources to the fund. Please celebrate with us, and hopefully you'll want to join the effort. It won't be easy, but we cannot back off from the challenge. Too much depends on it. Too many people's lives are at risk. This is literally true. We just completed the most comprehensive statewide needs assessment that's been done in Mississippi around LGBTQ issues, and the common theme throughout is that of fear and vulnerability. Check out the findings on our website, www.lgbtqms.org. Once again, thank you for this honor, and thank you for all you're doing and have done, and will do to push this state and its leaders to be more tolerant, to be more inclusive, and to be more respectful for all of its citizens. Thank you very much.